The world's frog population is declining due to a number of factors. A fungal pathogen called Batrachochytrium dendrobatidis, BD, has devastated amphibian populations around the world. BD, or the amphibian chytrid fungus, is a fungus that causes the disease chytridiomycosis in amphibians. It is an emerging disease that is significantly impacting amphibian populations across the globe. The disease has caused the decline or complete extinction of over 200 species of frogs and other amphibians. The chytrid fungus Batrachochytrium dendrobatidis, BD, likely spread around the world through the trade of amphibians, particularly African clawed frogs, Xenopus laevis. BD is common in African frogs, and the first described outbreaks outside of Africa occurred in Australia and Central America in 1998. The use of African clawed frogs, Xenopus laevis, in pregnancy tests from the 1930s to the 1950s may have led to the spread of a deadly fungus called Batrachochytrium dendrobatidis, BD. This is how the test worked. A woman's urine was injected into a female frog. If the frog ovulated within about 10 hours, the woman was likely pregnant. The frogs were shipped around the world, and many were released into the wild when the tests became obsolete. The fungus is now found on every continent where amphibians exist, and is a threat to other animals. The oldest known instance of the fungus is from South Africa in the 1930s. BD is a waterborne fungus that enters the skin of amphibians and digests their proteins. The fungus then releases more zoospores into the environment, where they can infect other amphibians. Human activities like trade and war are thought to have accidentally spread BD around the world. It is both an emerging infectious disease and an invasive species. All species of amphibian are susceptible to infection with BD, but it doesn't always cause disease in all amphibians it infects. Toads in the Bufonidae family appear to be more susceptible to chytridiomycosis than ranid frogs and newts. The chytrid disease is deadly to amphibians in part because the fungal spores use chemicals to break down the natural defenses in their skin. Once those spores are inside the frog, they proliferate, causing the skin to thicken and other problems that can lead to death. Sick amphibians in human care can receive treatment from veterinarians, but the harsh reality is that researchers have yet to find a way to save entire populations or species in the wild from chytrid fungus. Once this disease takes hold, it spreads like wildfire, leaving devastation in its wake. Interestingly, some frogs have evolved defenses against this deadly fungus. Certain species secrete antifungal chemicals or host symbiotic bacteria on their skin that help fight off the infection. Yet, not all frogs are so fortunate, many lack these protective traits. Shockingly, chytrid has contributed to the decline of at least 501 amphibian species, about 1 in every 16 known to science. Of those affected, 90 species are already extinct or presumed extinct in the wild, with another 124 suffering declines of over 90%. The fight against this disease is far from over, and the clock is ticking for our amphibian friends. Habitat loss. Amphibian populations are declining even in protected areas. Without a suitable habitat for frogs, they will die out. There are 3 different types of habitat loss: habitat destruction, habitat fragmentation, and habitat degradation. Wetlands are a critical breeding ground for amphibians, but they are among the most threatened habitats. A congressional report found that 670,000 acres of salt marshes and swamps were lost in the contiguous 48 states between 2009 and 2019. Habitat fragmentation is the process of breaking up a continuous habitat into smaller, unconnected pieces. This can happen naturally, such as through fire or volcanic eruptions, but is more often caused by human activities like development, farming, or deforestation. Habitat fragmentation can cause immediate and long-term biodiversity loss at different levels. Animals living in fragmented habitats are restricted to smaller subpopulations, which can lead to inbreeding. Inbreeding can lower genetic diversity, making animals more vulnerable to disease and less able to adapt. Habitat fragmentation can lead to ecosystem decay. Amphibians are considered highly sensitive to pollution and toxic chemicals due to their permeable skin, which allows them to absorb contaminants directly from the water they inhabit, making them a good indicator species for environmental health, essentially acting like canaries in a coal mine when it comes to detecting environmental issues. Permeable skin makes amphibians unique, but it also makes them vulnerable. As tadpoles, they thrive in water, but that same skin allows harmful chemicals to seep in. Pesticides, herbicides, and heavy metals from our environment can disrupt their development and reproductive health. Imagine a frog struggling to survive because of pollutants in its pond. These contaminants can lead to immune dysfunction and even population declines. And it doesn't stop there. Parasitic flatworms can cause bizarre deformities, like extra or missing limbs, making it even harder for them to thrive. The delicate balance of their ecosystems is at risk, and we must pay attention to the impact of our actions on these incredible creatures.